are going to talk about the India's land survey history and related to the Everest. I am going to relate it with the St. Thomas Mount in Madras and with the Everest. You will ask a question, what is the relative between the St. Thomas Mount and the Everest? Here, the historical background behind the St. Thomas Mount to the Mount Everest. The survey was started from the St. Thomas Mount, from there to ended at the Mount Everest. When we say this, you may have a question: who surveyed it? What happened? When we see the India's map, we have the question that who actually drew it, who surveyed the map. We have a lot of difference in the India's map that was ruled in the time of Ashoka, in the time of Mughals, and in the time of Sangam period. So here the ancient, medieval and modern time, the India's map is differs, and later after the British came to India, we all know that they were introduced the new surveyed map of India. So before the British, also we have the surveyed map. Aini Akbari, which is talks about the Mughals boundaries and the map. And in Tamil Nadu, if you take the Chera Chola Pandyas, they ruled the places that was also drew as a map. The map also talking about the boundaries of the Chera Chola Empire and their neighboring countries. But these all the maps are not surveyed properly and not a scaled one. So the map which was revealed by the British, issued map by the British, was a clear one. How it has happened? When Britishers captured the Bengal through the Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar, around the nearby places they captured it and they were introduced a new map in the 1783. The first map that was issued by the British for the purpose of East Indian Company to rule in India. Later, the British defeat concentrated on the very important place for the spices in south is uh, Tipu Sultan's territory. When they are against a war with the Mysore, they defeated Tipu Sultan in the last Anglo-Mysore War, 1799. After the British defeated Tipu, they want to analyze the newly captured place. So that time Madras governor, which means Lord Sir Arthur Wellesley, he appointed a British army officer, Colonel Henry Lambton, as a surveyor, and along with him he is also appointed a botanist, Lawrence Hughes. The both people were appointed to analyze a newly captured Mysore actually. But that same time, India also had a survey of general in Calcutta. Tamil Nadu has a different survey department. The survey department of Madras Presidency started surveying the Mysore with a lot of complications. They faced a lot of problems in surveying the Mysore. So, for the purpose of the surveying the Mysore, Lord Wellesley appointed 200 laborers, few elephants, camels and horse wings for the purpose of surveying the Mysore. After London completed surveying the Mysore, he also completed a survey of the south. First, the survey was started in the St. Thomas Church, St. Thomas Mount. When you go to St. Thomas Church, nearby the St. Thomas Church, there is a memory of a dead Colonel Lambton's statue. When you see this statue, you can find a inscription next to the statue that reveals the information. First, Lambton started the survey from this area. Now we will have another question: how he surveyed? Before the British, we can't able to do it. How it was done by the British properly? Here, the Colonel Lambton has introduced a new instrument called theolite. The machine was brought from the England through the ship and used in India. The machine was actually often of weight. So the machine was carried from the England through ship and placed in the St. Thomas Mount to analyze the survey. The book called The Great Arc was revealed this secret of surveying the India's lands in the book, which was written by the John Kane. If you read the book, you will be able to understand how this survey was done in India. Okay, let's come to the topic. Here, when the survey has continued in India, Lambton has also faced a lot of problems. In 1808, there is historical importance that he surveyed the Tanjavur. He carried this theolite instrument. The top of the as a Tanjavur big temple, Peruvadayar Koil. So when he tried to carry the theolite instrument to the top of the Brihadishwara temple, unfortunately the instrument was fall down, it was broken. So we waited 2 years to bring back another instrument to do the research. After, when we got the instrument and continued the research, we also faced a lot of issues. There is a myth that was spread among the people that when you look through this instrument, you can see women without a dress. So the local people, they were agitated against on the lantern and the Savayan people. And later there is another myth. If you see through the telescope of the theolic instrument, you can also find a treasury in the land. Some people try to stole this instrument to find the treasures. After go through all those issues and problems, he also completed half of the India survey up to the Madhya Pradesh. When he completed, he wanted someone's help. So at the time, British appointed George Everest, an engineer, to support Lambton. So George Everest was appointed as a Lieutenant Surveyor General for the India's survey method. Here the George Everest along with the Lambton both continue the surveying of India. When half of the survey is completed, unfortunately at the age of 70, Lambton was passed away. His work is stopped. So British appointed the Lieutenant Surveyor General George Everest as a Chief of the Surveyor General of India. So George Everest continued the surveying of India. Here there is a historical important information that I have to mention, that the India's great mathematician, trigonometrist, Siddharth Radhanath Siktar. Here the Radhanath Siktar is an Indian born mathematician who is very brilliant in talent, admired by the George Everest. So George Everest, admired by his talents and his mathematical talent, so he appointed this Radhanath Siktar as a surveyor in the Dehradun area. Here in the Dehradun, Radhanath Siktar is doing his research. I will talk about him later. Here the George Everest continuing his survey. When he has after that of his survey, he also needs someone's help. So here British appointed another Lieutenant Surveyor General. He was Andrew Scott. When his survey, George Everest survey was completed, he was retired and he went back to England. He was also given a highest award, civilian award, that was called as Knight. Later, his Lieutenant General Andrew Scott was appointed as a Chief of India's Surveyor General. Andrew Scott, along with the Indian Radhanath Siktar, continued the survey of India from the middle of the India to the northeastern and northern province. They complete the whole India, but the rest of the places, the northeastern province, which is very high in the mean sea level, it is very difficult for them to research. Here, when they try to measure the peaks of the Himalayas, the Nepal government is not allowed them to go into it. So what happened? They have started the research from the south of the Himalayan peaks. They have started from the south. When they have started, Indian Radhanath Siktar found the world's highest peak in the Himalayas, that was Everest. Its height is 8,848 meter from the mean sea level. It was found by the Indian mathematician, the great Radhanath Siktar, but Andrew Scott named it as a Everest peak. Actually, the peak was named as a Komanunga peak by the Nepalese, which means it's a god, woman god. At the same time, Chinese people named it as a Shimupeng peak. Even now, the Chinese people calling it as a Shimupeng peak, which means mother goddesses. But if the Andrew Scott applied this name as a Everest peak. Even George Everest is not agreed his name to be named for this peak. But Andrew Scott is very clear with his idea. He named this newly invented peak as a Everest peak. Actually, the peak supposed to be named as a Siddharth peak because it was invented by the Radhanath Siktar, a Bengali Indian. But unfortunately, since India was under the British colonial rule, it was named as a Everest peak. Even the name was agreed by the Geographical Society of England and other countries also agreed it later. Later, there is another historical incident related to the Everest. The first people who was reached the peak of the Everest, and a New Zealand guy, Edmund Hillary. So Edmund Hillary, along with the Sherpa tribe of Nepal, there is a group of tribes called Sherpas. They are well known in climbing the mountains. The Sherpa tribe guy called Densing Noke. Densing Noke, along with the New Zealand guy Edmund Hillary, they were joined together and reached the peak. Here, you have to understand this Sherpa tribe guy, Densing Norke, is the one who guided the New Zealand guy to reach the peak. The Sherpas are the pioneers of climbing the Himalayan peaks. Let me talk about this later. Here, this Densing Norke and Edmund Hillary reached the peak of the Everest, and on the memory of their reaching a peak of the Everest, Densing Norke, he just buried his daughter Neela's glue pen and along with some sweets. Here there is one more great proverb that was said by the great Mahakavi Bharati, that pen, which means writing material on the, and also letters, also a god. So that is what remembrance for us. He buried his daughter's pen and some sweets on the peak of the Everest, and they came back. Here, the importance of Sherpas. Sherpas are well-known people who can able to climb in the mount of Everest even without taking oxygen cylinders. There is a person called Sherpa Appa, who was called as a head of the Sherpa tribe, who can able to climb the Everest 12 times. He was climbed the Everest 12 times without oxygen cylinders. And one more information, that when these Densing Norke and Edmund Hillary climbed the Everest, they reached the first time, but Sherpa people also went along with them to carry their oxygen cylinders, their materials to the peak. But these two people, Edmund Hillary's name was mentioned as a first person reached the Everest in the year of 1853. It lost, even a mountain is lost its real name. It was named by a British person. Another thing, when you see India's map, you have to remember that India's map was not so easily survived. Behind the surveying of India map, there is a lot of history and lot of politics is also lies behind it. Thank you.